So greetings from Pennsylvania once again. Sorry it's a little bit noisy at the spot. The Pennsylvania Turnpike is right next to us. But we're still out here. I think we're still out here in Fulton County. We might be in Franklin County at the moment. But I just got done hiking another section of the Standing Stone Trail. We camped at Cowan's Gap State Park last night. But I'm going to film one more video today before I head home. I just got changed out of my nasty, sweaty hiking clothes. But just up the way is the town of Burnt Cabins. There's a name for you, the town of Burnt Cabins. So there is a story to this town, and I'm going to include this video in my French and Indian War series. Although this incident dates back to 1750, which was just a couple of years before the French and Indian War. It kind of deals with the time right before that and what kind of led up to it. So we're going to hop in a Jeep. We're going to drive to that town, might film a little bit on the way there as we drive through town. And we'll find a place to pull over and talk a little about why it's called Burnt Cabins. Alright, so we're making our way to Burnt Cabins. Beautiful country out here. It's just a small little town. A lot of old homes in it and stuff like that. Yeah, look at those mountains up off in the distance. It's this town here. We coming into town, I think, maybe. Oh, there's some old homes, but that's a nice fixer upper right there. Get that for me. There's a couple of those like that here in town. I don't think we're in town proper yet. Yeah, I think we're getting into town up here. I think there's a church here in town I'm going to pull into. I think I'll be able to park there and talk a little bit more to you. I'll read an account of it too. What happened, why they ended up burning these cabins. Oh, yeah, actually have a historical marker for there, Burnt Cabins. But anyway, where was that church? Oh, right here it is. They'll mind if I pull in. Let this guy go past. Well, he's not very to go in. So what makes this story interesting to me is that this is one of the few times that the colonial authorities or even the state and federal authorities actually enforced the rules and laws regarding settlers moving into what was considered Indian territory. Because a lot of times, they didn't enforce it. They made treaties with the Indians, made promises, but the settlers keep moving into their territory, and it's the same old story. But this is one of the few times where they actually enforced it. So here in this area, there were, what they say, about 11 squatters, they called them, had moved into this territory, even though they weren't supposed to. It was still Indian territory, and they sent the sheriff and some magistrates out there, including, I mentioned Conrad Weiser and George Krogh and a few other names. Came out here to tell these people that they had to leave. So let me read you an account of what happened. Okay, so I took a picture of the article online. I forget who this was written by. And it was written by one of the men that went to apprehend these individuals or tell them to leave. Sorry, it's a little noisy. This is Route 522 up here, and we have the turnpike over there too. So this is a first-hand account. Let me adjust the camera here a moment. Yes, this is a first-hand account written by one of the men that came out here to apprehend these people or tell them to leave. The next day being it's written a little bit in the old style language too. This is written in the 1700s, so it sounds a little weird. The next day being the 24th of May, Mr. Weiser and Mr. Galbraith and the under sheriff and myself on our way to the mouth of the Juniata, which is here, called at Andrew Likens, which is one of the men that was squatting here, with intent only to inform him that his neighbors were bound for his appearance and immediate removal, and to caution him not to bring himself or them into trouble by refusal. But I think you know what happened. He refused. But he presented a loaded gun to the magistrate, and the sheriff said he would shoot the first man that dared to come nigh. So yeah, so you're asked to leave. He's like, nope, I'm not leaving. Which, yeah, you can kind of understand in a way. On this, he was disarmed, convicted, and committed to the custody of the sheriff. The whole transaction happened in sight of a tribe of Indians who by accident had, in the nighttime, fixed their tent in the area. So a tribe of Indians were in the area too, were observing all this happening. Where I'll find my spot here again. And they were very offended by Lycan's behavior, it goes on to say. And they insisted on burning the cabins, or if they insisted on the sheriff and the magistrates on burning the cabins, and if they didn't, they were going to burn them themselves. Whereupon, when everything that was basically, when everything was then removed from, let me put my other glasses on, when everything was removed from the cabins and turned over to the people that were being evicted, Weiser and the others then set the cabins on fire, burnt them to the ground. Because if they weren't going to do it, the Indians were going to do it anyway. Yes, that all happened in this area, not exactly sure where. Probably not exactly at this spot. Here's the church. But yeah, there's a story of burnt cabins. Like I said, one of the few times where, you know, it was these agreements with the Indians were actually enforced, and the settlers were required to move instead of just letting them continue to be there. And that's why I'm including it in my French and Indian War series, because these are the type of tensions that led up to that war happening. You know, already, even before the war started in 1754, even before then, there was these stressful tensions between the settlers and the Native Americans. They kept moving into their areas and violating those treaties and stuff like that. But in this case, it was handled a little bit different than it was handled in later years. So, that's why it's called Burnt Cabins. It's an interesting, interesting name of the town. Hey, where do you live? I live in Burnt Cabins. But I think I'm going to take you through the rest of the town a little bit, drive through. It's a neat little town. It's a little noisy. You got 522 in the turnpike, but let's do that quick before we finish this video out. All right, so just a short little story for you. But it's just interesting, you know. I kind of like how towns get their names sometimes, and this one has a story dating to our time, that French and Indian War series. Like I said, a little bit before, but you know, it describes some of those tensions that existed. Hey, but imagine, I don't know. Try to see both sides. You know, settlers were always trying to find new lands and things like that. They should have known better, but you know, what would you have done? Would you have given up your home? Would you have tried to fight back? Like that old Burnt Cabins Hotel. But I think the authorities did what they had to in the end. You know, they were not supposed to be in that area legally, and you know, you have to pay the consequences, especially when you threaten to shoot or, you know, cause violence to those trying to stop you. But anyway, you can let me know down below what you think. You know, what would you have done? What was his name? Andrew Lycan. What would you have done? Yeah, just look, a lot of old homes through here. Yeah, that's the old grist mill there. Alright, but I think that'll be it for this video. Just a nice short little one, but neat little story about, you know, an interesting town name. Alright folks, I gotta drive home. It's been a long 2 days. Anyway, thanks for coming along folks, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.